there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
And I am Mike Forrester. Adam, welcome back from a successful Story of the Year tour. How did it go?
It went well. It went so well that I'm still on tour schedule, and I remembered that we were recording at this time about 28 minutes before this time came around. And that's why I can't control the pitch of my voice still.
Sure. And all that to say, you're so excited about the Story of the Year tour that you're doing it again in a couple months because it was that successful. Part 2, a sequel for Camp Screamo. But we're not talking about that today. Today, we are getting in the game. I feel like that's got to be a trademark somewhere by some large game company. Hey, we are joined by Alex and Mollie of Star Wars Explained. Hello, friends.
Hey.
Hello there.
What's been new with you guys? Anything that you've been working on for the past, year that seems to all be coming to fruition all in like 1 week?
Yeah, we started a game.
Very casual. The excitement, I think right now, we've been talking about this on Thank the Maker, that for the casual people, they're like, it seems like we're in a Star Wars lull. And this episode, talking about games, actually proves the exact opposite of being in a lull, because games are the thing for Star Wars in this immediate moment. You guys have started a really cool system, a game that is based off, Alex, you were explaining it to me, Kids on Bikes is the framework, but you have started HYPERDICE, which is your own campaign, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's something we've talked about for like years, just thought it would be fun. I've played D&D for several years. I've never run a game until now.
Okay.
That was part of the reason I was like, I don't know if I want to jump in and do this. But then I learned about Kids on Bikes, or the system we specifically used is Teens in Space, basically the same thing. And I was like, oh, this is very rules light and more up my alley. So we just started recording like a test campaign. And at first it was just to see, like, do we even like doing this?
Sure.
And I loved it immediately. So I was like, okay, it was a test. So it's a little maybe rougher around the edges than I would have done, but I don't really care. It was just so much fun that we kept doing it, and we did 8 episodes, and now they're finally coming out.
Heck yeah.
So when you say you did 8 episodes, they're finally coming out. From the little bit that I've watched so far, I imagine that gap between when you played the game, shot it, and when it's coming out has a lot to do with editing. Like the length of these things and like the very specific type of editing that you have to do, the fun stuff you want to add, right? It's probably a more involved project than a standard Star Wars Explained video.
For sure.
Yeah. There's like more cameras, more audio tracks. There's just a lot more to do. The audio was like our biggest issue, because just the two of us, it's a lot easier to edit the audio than 5 people that are all like, some are loud, some are quiet.
Right.
So
bleed between mics in the same room, all that stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of
learning how to do that was rough.
Trial and error. Yeah. But it was a learning experience. And like you said, hopefully, if we do more of this, we plan to do more of this, it'll just only get better.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the crazy workflow doesn't deter you, because this is something I'm super stoked about. I've watched other bits and pieces of people doing D&D campaigns, even really high production value ones, and they're cool, but that's not my genre. That's not my stuff. So I'm stoked to get into this.
We have a ton of ideas for other weird campaigns. Like if anyone has ever watched Never Stop Blowing Up on Dimension 20, that was the campaign that I was like, that's what I want to do. And I know how I want to do it. And so that's probably going to be our next full campaign, is using a system that is kind of like Teens in Space, but a little more chaotic, which our first campaign is already very chaotic. So
yeah. But it's like heavily edited. There's a lot of D&D campaigns, actual plays, I guess people call them, that are hours and hours long. And they keep in, all the chit chat about the rules and the math and the rolling and all that stuff. And we've edited this pretty much to just the story. It's really quick. It's very like nerdy as far as the Star Wars lore goes. So that was our main goal, was to make it super nerdy for Star Wars fans.
I would expect nothing less from both of you. So that's very encouraging to hear. I think if we take a step back for a second, because I think when we think of Star Wars games, right, there have been tons of different card games over the year. I know Adam has recently gotten into which version of the card game have you been playing on tour?
Star Wars Unlimited, a little bit with my guitar tech, John. We were talking about it. He was building a D&D deck. A Magic the Gathering deck. And I was like, there's like a couple Star Wars games kind of like this. What's the one? He's like, oh, Star Wars Unlimited. Let's go.
Oh, he was ready.
Yeah,
he was ready to be like, finally, you're in my world. Well, yeah. I think from, cards are obviously like kind of finding their moment again, both in collectability and also people just, I think, taking what I would consider to be like these non-digital experiences that seem to be becoming, a thing that people are reminding themselves of, like doing things in person, even how you guys are doing it, where it's like it's still designed to be done as a community with other people. And then of course we have video games, which for a lot of people, video games, the topic of Star Wars video games has been, some people think we could have done more. A lot of people are still pining for days of LucasArts, in which we had what some people would say is the golden era of Star Wars video games. But between the original Battlefronts, and then we also had the Jedi Fallen Order series from EA, this next kind of run of video games is pretty exciting. As someone who doesn't have a lot of time to game, the last time I had a lot of fun with Star Wars video gaming was Star Wars Outlaws, which was kind of more of a, kind of an RPG style, more adventure game, open world-ish, and I had a great time playing that. But more specifically coming out is a different kind of game that we've ever seen called Zero Company, which is a turn-based RPG game, and then a classic Galactic Racer, which is just a classic racing game. Alex and Mollie, you both had chances to play those. Let's talk about those, and then let's get more into the card games. But first impressions seem to be, at least from what I can tell, you guys are excited about these games. And I know what I appreciate about both of you is that you're not afraid to say, hey, this is cool. It's not for me. But it seems like
it is for you.
It seems like both of these games are pretty awesome.
I think for me, Galactic Racer is way more my speed, no pun intended.
Nice.
Nailed it.
Than Zero Company, because I've never really played turn-based games like that. I am learning, and like the way that game is set up, Zero Company, it is much easier to learn than I expected. But I don't know, Alex played a lot more of it than I did.
Yeah, I was the same way. I'd never played a game like Zero Company before. Racer, when they announced it, I was like, that's exactly the kind of thing I wanted. So I have been more excited for that one this whole time. But now that I play, I can say this now. I was on like a community council where I got to play Zero Company throughout the development. And that was really neat. It was a lot of like kind of moving people around blocky environments, like they weren't done. Textures weren't applied. It was just kind of like learning the gameplay, and we got bits and pieces of the story here or there. And I was like, I'm getting it, but I'm not like fully connected yet.
Sure.
Then they put the press version out that we got to play about a week and a half ago. And instantly I was like, I was drawn in, like the characters, the writing. Now that I know what the story is, and now that I can understand the characters and what's happening, I was like, everything else fell into place for me, and I was enjoying it immensely.
Okay,
so
that's super encouraging. For my thing, I'm the same as you. Like, and I remember you saying, for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with this type of game, right? Which I think the popular version or the framework is based off a game called XCOM. Mm-hmm. And in terms of where we're so used to the short attention spans of running and gunning in your Call of Duties, whatever it is, did you feel like it's that game in particular, Zero Company, is it more designed for like kind of co-op gameplay with your friends, or did you feel like, basically, do you think it'll be better with friends, or did you have a lot of fun playing it, say, by yourself in your own campaign?
I don't think Zero Company has multiplayer.
Okay.
I'm not positive about that, but I'm pretty sure it's just a single player game.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You're right. It's not like a run and gun. It's not like Fallen Order, which I love those games where you just like run into a room and hack and slash.
Yeah.
Like this is you're supposed to look at the battlefield and decide strategically where to put your people and what they can do. And it's still, I had never played something like that before. I feel like the tutorial did a great job at explaining things to me without making me feel like a moron. And in fact, it did the opposite. I was like immediately doing very simple things that felt very badass. Like it kind of makes you feel like Grand Admiral Thrawn sitting back like, I'm brilliant. When it's like you did something so simple, but the way they present it feels really good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the thing about this game is replayability, or that will be the test of time for this game. And I think it's going to do really well because there's so much customization that you can do, and you can build your own team. Like there's like the main story stuff, the main characters that you can't really change as much, but then past that, you can really change up your team. You can have like an all droid team and just be really chaotic like that. Or, there's just like a lot of different ways to play it. So I think for people who do like games like XCOM, turn-based strategy games like this, I think they will be able to play it multiple times over, which will be nice.
I remember when they announced that the story looks awesome. Alex, I watched your kind of brief recap on being like, the time period that it's set in, also the custom. As soon as you say customization in Star Wars, I'm immediately like, all right, where do I need to pick it up? What's cool about it though, from the perspective is that like the emphasis on story is very present in how you play the game, and also like getting a better idea of the scenario that you're in. Because I think a lot of times we see, especially as a lot of video game companies do, they have their own mechanics and then they just put Star Wars skins on it. But the story seems to try to get people invested in it.
Yeah, it's the same narrative lead as the two Star Wars Jedi games, Aaron Contreras, which I love. Those are two of my favorite Star Wars games of all time.
Yeah.
Because I think the story is so good and Cal is so great. And yeah, I think Aaron just crushed it. Like it's a very Star Wars story so far. I think that he very brilliantly appeals to everyone that is loving Andor right now. Like everything is treated very seriously. It's very grounded, but he also is not afraid to be like, but also one of the main characters is like this big blue alien who talks in kind of a sing-songy rhyme pattern. And like there's all kinds of weird things going on. Like Andor kind of leaned away from the weirdness, the fun side of Star Wars.
Right.
And so this is just, it's weird and we're treating it deadly seriously. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, you said it was like Andor in tone, but like you said, it's set during the Clone Wars time period, which a lot of people are really excited to play just because of that. And so there's a lot more pulpiness to this game.
Nice. Yeah, that balance is like, it's obviously so tough for Star Wars on the screen. Star Wars in games, for me, not being a huge gamer, or much of a gamer at all for that matter, I don't have my finger on the pulse of like how people feel in terms of which brand of Star Wars they love. Like all the conversation I have with the normies in my friend circle are about wanting Star Wars to be more adult like Andor. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Still, this is for 12-year-olds. Like you got this, but come on. So what's the vibe in the gaming community? Do you guys have a beat on that?
I think it kind of depends on the game. Like, each game that we've had kind of has appealed to a different group. Starfighter was so different from the Star Wars Jedi games. And so I feel like every new game that's announced, a new group comes out of the woodwork. And I've been having a blast looking at the comments on my video that are from the XCOM community. Mm-hmm. And even like the criticisms that I was making. So when you go to shoot at someone, the camera will kind of like go from the top down view up to their shoulder.
Sure.
And it'll it gives you a more cinematic view as you're attacking this character. And sometimes the camera just like didn't work and was pointing me at a wall. And I'm like,
stuck.
I can't see what's happening, which isn't a big deal, but like that was my main criticism. And then people in the comments, I guess this is a thing that XCOM fans say, but so many comments just say, "That's XCOM, baby."
All right.
And they're like excited. They're like, "Yep, that happens in XCOM. Oh well."
That's hilarious. That's like the different communities that come, of course, with many companies, it's like if something's successful, they're going to give you more of it, right? And, as someone who is, I have a daughter who's almost 10, and so like video games are becoming a kind of part of our life. Like she is a huge Animal Crossing fan, and we play Super Mario or Mario Kart, right? And Mario Party, all these things. So I'm watching Galactic Racer, and I'm like, is this my way into getting my kid into Star Wars? So switching gears a little bit, pun intended, thank you, Molly, to Galactic Racer. First impressions of this one, because I think this was an easy onboard for people who are looking for what I would consider to be familiar mechanics, racing, customization, these things. They throw in, of course, characters like Sebulba, and then the main character is your classic cool helmet, mysterious, Boonta Eve. We're going to familiar locations. This seemed like an easy onboard for me. First impressions from you guys. I know that you've talked about it, but for our listeners who I know are already excited about this game, what more can you tell us?
Loved it.
That's great.
Yeah.
We're done here.
I was excited when they announced it back in December, like surprise announcement, especially when they were like, and it's coming out next year. That was great.
True.
It feels very Star Wars also. Like the racing is very fast and very dangerous, and you crash a lot, but it's fun. Like I was lucky enough to be sitting next to a friend. I got to fly out to London, play the game. One of my YouTuber buddies, as a true, was sitting next to me, and the amount of times we just like would smash into something and look at each other and laugh. It was like even crashing is fun in that.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Alex rarely gets this excited. Like he doesn't get that excited about new stuff. He'll read a comic, a book, or whatever, and he'll be like, "I liked it. It was fine." But when he came back from that London event, he was like, "Galactic Racer is so much fun. Oh my god!" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So that's how I know this is going to be fun for just about anyone.
Sick. The thing that I was most stoked to see, and I actually like the first thing I went and searched for, was whether or not there was a first-person cockpit view option. And there is.
Mm-hmm.
Very stoked. I love the overhead view just because you get to see the pod or the land speed or whatever in context, and it's really cool. But I've always been into sims of any kind, like any kind of like pilot or driving sim. So I'm really stoked to sit down and try to play this, even if it's in like a, the kind of hacked together VR display from your PC kind of situation.
That game in VR would be insanity.
I bet.
I'd just be screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of fun in Squadrons?
Yes, in the little bit that I've played it, because it was the kind of thing where like I got my whole setup going and then my whole room rearranged, and then doing that process over and over was like, oh God, I don't know if I have time to do that today. But yeah, as soon as I was in, I was like, I'm going to build a cockpit. Like this is the sickest thing ever.
That game was a lot of fun, hard.
Yes.
Like, especially, I'm not really a big gamer, but that game was pretty hard for me. But we got one of those like flying stick things, the controller. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I would crash immediately if I were in like a real cockpit.
Yeah, I actually, around that same time, started messing with Microsoft Flight Simulator and actually learning from the ground up how to fly for real, because it's a fully accurate sim. And holy shit, yeah, it's hard as hell. Like I crashed dozens of Cessnas within the first like 10 hours. So I'm with you. We would all die if we were in the same plane.
And such humility too, right? This is like my favorite internet video of people being like, asking mostly men, how confident are you that you could land a plane in an emergency situation? And like most of them are like, I could probably figure it out. And I'm like, that's the wrong answer right there, right?
That's the very first lesson that I took away from it, that answer is the most arrogant bullshit of all time. If I'm behind the stick, we're all dead. That said, since I've flown enough, I could be maybe talked into a scenario where at least the fuselage doesn't explode. Like maybe the landing gear comes off, but like maybe we get down on the ground.
Indiana Jones can't even land a plane. Like,
Right.
Where do these people get off?
That's a great point.
Anakin Skywalker can barely land, and he's supposedly the best pilot in the galaxy. So.
Flying's for droids.
Okay, so the question I want to ask about Star Wars Galactic Racer is, customization is a big thing in racers because either it's you're modifying your car or your bike. Even Mario Kart has the basic forms of being able to put, a Hyrule shield on your back or, toadstools as your wheels. But Star Wars fans are nerding out about every little detail. What levels of customization did you guys have fun with, and what can we expect as someone who hasn't gone that deep into kind of like learning about the ins and outs of it all?
It's really funny that you bring up Mario Kart customization. Like I said this in both of my videos about the games, is that I'm someone who doesn't get that excited about customization or as excited as other people. I definitely liked messing with lightsabers or Cal's costume in Survivor. But it's something that's like a nice bonus for me, where I know some people are like, I will spend hours doing that, and that's great.
Sure.
In Mario Kart, I play as Luigi, default kart every time, and it drives my friends nuts when I win.
And he wins all the time.
Yeah, not all the time. There are friends that like really figure out what the meta is, but like
Sure.
I'm just give me the basic and I'll be fine. I did really, really like Racer's customization. I didn't understand it. So you can unlock different land speeders. That's all I really got to mess with.
Okay.
But you unlock a new land speeder, and I'm like, neat, a full different vehicle. What I didn't realize is you're actually unlocking all of the parts from that land speeder. So you can mix and match everything and really put together like a Frankenstein that feels like yours. And I really dug that. I wish I could have spent more time doing that, but we were on a limited time crunch. So like I had to keep going. But I was like, oh, this is way neater than I thought it was going to be.
You can really like kit bash.
I was going to say that's like in the tradition of special effects and prop building and model building. That's sick.
So this is Cobb Vanth rolling up with Anakin style, thruster as it's been turned into a swoop bike or a speeder bike somehow.
Yeah, I haven't seen the speeder bike customization yet, but I'm like, if they have that.
You only played the land speeder. So there's the land speeder, the skiff,
the skim speeder, and the speeder bike.
Speeder bike.
Okay.
So you can play any of those threes. And I don't think this is going to happen, but my pipe dream is that they add like the bongos that you can do underwater.
Oh, yeah. How awesome would that be? Whoa.
I was like, come on.
There's always a bigger fish and potentially an expansion pack.
And maybe we're going to get a bongo.
Maybe we're going to get DLC. So from your perspective too, as obviously as super fans, do you recognize certain like body types? Do you recognize the speeder from Solo? Do you recognize, the classic land speeder that Luke takes in A New Hope? Like, did you feel like there were parts that you were like, oh, I recognize this as a Star Wars fan, or was there a lot of new stuff that made you kind of go, oh yeah, this feels like Star Wars, but I've never seen it before?
From what I saw, it was all new stuff, but I could see them making like the Solo speeder unlockable, like at a late game thing. That's you kind of you go through races, you earn points and credits and experience, and like you use that stuff to unlock new things.
Okay.
So everyone would start with like the same base speeder, and as you go through the game, you can unlock more and more.
Is your driver customizable?
Yes. Doesn't seem to be as deep as the vehicle. Like you always have the helmet on. You can change like the colors and whether or not you're wearing a cape. That's all I didn't spend as much time in there.
Star Wars.
Whether or not your cape gets caught in the door.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Poncho or not.
Yeah. Here's my thing with video games and why I guess I've never become a gamer, because to really do things the way my obsessive neurodivergent brain wants to, I have to go over the top. So unless it's something where like the controller mechanics have nothing to do necessarily with what the real world thing would be, like playing Tony Hawk, right? Like, you don't do a kickflip with your thumbs. So it's whatever. You just play
Unless
it.
you're using one of those little like fingerboards.
Point taken.
Maybe.
Correct. Which still seems like sorcery to me. I don't know how that works. So if it's anything like a flight sim or anything, like even in the 8-bit Nintendo days, when I played Top Gun, I had to have a joystick. I had to have like whatever the closest version was that was available for Nintendo. And I got a chair and suction cup that thing down and put on headphones and listen to Danger Zone. And I had to do it that way. So if I don't have that kind of stuff, or if the control mechanics aren't something that makes it feel as real as possible, I'm usually like, nah, like I could never play a first person shooter with a mouse and a keyboard. Like I need things that feel like I'm pulling triggers,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about the different types of racers in this game and the different control schemes in universe, I think about, okay, I'm stoked for the first person cockpit thing, but then, I've got my like flight stick and throttle, my HOTAS set up, but I don't have a wheel. But then also a pod racer works with this kind of thing. So are they all different? Have you been playing with a controller? Have you been playing with a keyboard? Do you know anything have you seen anything about people using different like HOTAS setups or anything like that?
All we got to do was play on PlayStation. So I used a PlayStation controller, and that's all that was available to us. I would imagine you can hook up a steering wheel at the very least.
Right.
Is it going to be on Switch?
No, I want both of these games on Switch too. Like
That
playing them
seems
both handheld
crazy to
sounds
me.
great.
I mean, maybe eventually, hopefully.
If they can get
Racer will be
Outlaws on
it.
Switch, I feel like these two could fit.
Because then you could use the Wii wheel, or not the Wii wheel. That's old. The Switch
That's
wheel.
awesome.
Okay,
That would be
Grandma.
hilarious.
Boomer alert. So I guess on PlayStation, it's the dual analog sticks for pods, especially. Does that work that way? Like both forward?
no.
Oh, that's interesting. That could be
Yeah.
cool.
You might be able to fully customize your map, though, on your
Yeah, I'm
controller
interested in that.
to do that.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
It was R2 to accelerate, left stick steers, right stick looks around.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Well, that makes sense. And then like I know I sound so annoying when I'm asking this, but like the part of certain games that I think when we think of racing games, which I haven't, my depth of racing games is certainly not where some people who are listening to this episode are going to be like, "Paul, you got to talk about this game." Weight is an important thing in regards of like, does it feel like when you're driving a bigger ship? Does it feel like when you're on a swoop bike? Does it feel like the difference between those mechanics? Did you feel like you were actually going as fast as you were going versus just this kind of empty, the screen is moving faster, which means that I'm going faster. But, do the mechanics feel like you actually have weight in the different class of racers?
Yes.
Okay.
The speed first, I'll say, it's very fast. Like
Okay.
every race was intense, and putting the controller down after playing for an hour, my hands were all like clawed
Clenched.
up. I was like,
Sure,
oh
sure.
God. But yeah, so I mostly played with land speeders because that's kind of in the campaign, that's where you start, and then you will eventually unlock speeder bikes and the skim speeders. But there were points where you still got to race with other things. And the speeder bikes turn a lot faster. I think all of them can have like a drift mechanic that feels really cool.
Right.
The speeder bikes do kind of a Mario Kart thing. Maybe all of them did this, but I know the speeder bikes, if you drift right, you get like a little boost coming out of it.
Sure.
The skim speeders turn a lot tighter. I think the speeder bikes are tighter turns than land speeders, but they're like more fragile. So yeah, they all have different pros and cons.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think too, because EA just released some of the maps too, and so obviously as big Star Wars fans, the idea of this map list is actually insane. I'm just going to read a couple off of here because we have Alderaan, we have Bespin, we have Coruscant, we have Felucia, Geonosis, Kashyyyk, Mustafar, Naboo, Ord Mantell. We also have like Vandor, which is cool. We have Umbara. And then we also have some other, we have Raxus Segundus, which is awesome. We also have Megiddo, which we haven't seen in a long time. These are, and a lot of these are like deep cuts to Clone Wars and other animated shows where we've never seen them in live action. So did you feel like at least that the maps, Alex, and please do, and Molly, were you able to also like experience different maps, or did you?
No.
Oh, dang.
Which maps did you play, Alex?
Actually, I'm looking through the list now. I think Jakku
Okay.
was the first map. And then I went to Lantana and then Ando Prime. Those are the 3 that I did.
And do the maps feel, I'm not like, again, these comparisons to Mario Kart, do the maps feel like there is individual consequence for each of the maps? Do you feel like, there's a different, it's not just a track. There's, I have to imagine like you're riding through Naboo and you're going to hit water and you're going to do these things versus Jakku is especially in the one that they showed, is literally a scrapyard at this point. So you have different, things that you're trying to avoid and all of that. But, are there any interactive parts of like, you have to miss Jawas because they're, decommissioning a Star Destroyer? Like, what's the playability like in terms of the difference between the maps?
Was Tito on the Jakku map anywhere?
Not that I saw. So yeah, Jakku was just a scrapyard, stuff to avoid.
Okay.
There's lots of different routes to take, like so you can figure out the best track or the best route in a given track. Lantana had a lot more, like there are acid pits and lava flows.
Sweet.
And you can go over the lava or the acid if you wanted to like cut a corner, but it's going to damage your pot or your racer. So it's kind of like a gamble of, can I make it in time? Ando Prime is a cold planet, which is you have a ramjet, which will overheat. It makes you go much faster. It makes your racer like deadly if you hit someone else with it. So in the cold, it doesn't overheat as fast, but it does like your racer will kind of freeze up. And so there are these heat things you can drive through that'll bring the cold back down.
Yeah.
But they'll also make your ramjet warm up faster. So it's like this really interesting balance. But every planet, the 3 planets that I played felt very distinct.
And this is all decision making while you're going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Great.
And that's I remember I didn't get first every time. I did all right, but there was one that I had like 2 perfect laps and I was like, this feels great. And then I just kind of decided I should probably go through one of those heat things. Missed it, crashed, blew up, 7th place immediately. Like,
wow.
Just like Mario Kart. Yeah. As soon as you crash, you'll just like go to last place.
A famous, wise champion once said, if you ain't first, you're last.
That's true.
Exactly what I said.
That's true poetry.
That's how it feels.
Oh my gosh. Well, so that's awesome. So Star Wars Galactic Racer, the release date for that is coming quite soon, actually. That is
October 6th, right?
October 6th, right? Okay, so and then we also have Zero Company is coming out even sooner. That comes out
27th of this month,
Yeah, so in a
2 weeks.
couple weeks. Wow, that's crazy. So we've got the video games covered. Let's also get into, of course, the announcement for a lot that was to much excitement for a lot of people, an official Dungeons and Dragons Star Wars collab, which seems very exciting. So I'm curious, have you guys heard anything about how this is rolling out?
Well, hey, how about this?
Oh,
how about we talk about HYPERDICE first, and then we'll make the D&D discussion the bonus segment.
I like it.
We'll cut it there and make that for patrons.
Okay.
There's not a lot of info about that at all.
But I'm really interested to hear your opinions, having been working on a role-playing game yourself and then having a little experience with D&D. So I'm interested. So we can do that for the bonus segment.
Okay,
Good?
Let's do it.
So let's talk about HYPERDICE. Well, I guess first, your experience with D&D, how did you get brought into that? Were you interested? Did you understand the concept? And how quickly did you think, oh, I want to do this with Star Wars?
I tried to play D&D for a while, like back in college. I don't think I got it at first. Like, we call it a game, and it is. There are rules. But I like the term collaborative storytelling a lot more.
Right.
And I remember there's an improv theater we go to a lot in Atlanta called Dad's Garage, and they do an improvised D&D show, which is very funny. And I always loved that. And then one of our friends there who performs told us, it's like, yeah, D&D is just improv with dice. And that kind of clicked something for me. And then the next time I tried to play, I was like, I get it. Like, this isn't about, at least for me, some people, some of my friends really like to make the best, most efficient character they can. And I'm like, I'm here to do crazy stuff and laugh with my friends and just my favorite session we ever did, we got accidentally entered into a chili cook-off. Like, we're a bunch of magic using barbarian, like we're an adventuring party, and we're like trying to make the best chili we can. That I loved that.
And you're rolling dice as you're making the chili and as you're like in the cook-off. Like this, the D&D style game mechanics are applying to the chili cook-off.
Right. I mean,
so did you roll to see like, oops, I dumped the whole cayenne pepper in, or
right, kind of like wisdom, intelligence. Like one of my friends explained the difference between wisdom and intelligence is that intelligence is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that it doesn't go in a fruit salad.
Nice.
So yeah, we're making rolls like that to see if we can pull this off, and it was just so stupid, but in the best way.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with D&D. I didn't play it growing up. I've really only played a couple of games. Like, I started playing right before the pandemic. Actually, I was like in my first in-person game, and then the pandemic happened, and I was like, of course. So then we played on Zoom, but I was hesitant to even play in HYPERDICE because I was like, I struggle with it. You know, the rules are still hard for me to keep up with everything. And the way that the Teens in Space rules go, it's very rules light. The dice rolls, there's not as many options for what you want to do. And so for me, it's a lot easier to understand. And it is just improv with dice rolls, basically. And I play very chaotically. I'm just trying to make this more and more difficult for Alex.
Oh, sure. Sure. That's probably rule number 3.
Yeah. The improv with dice thing is like, I've never heard a better explanation. That's incredible. Like, I remember the first time I was around a D&D game or whatever being done, I had heard of it. I was in like Cub Scout camp or the very beginning of Boy Scout camp. I was a little kid, and they were all playing. Everyone was in a tent with like, you know, pillowcases with flashlights turned into like lamps, and they're vibing out. And I just kind of sat on the sidelines for a minute and watched. And at some point I was like, so wait, what are the rules? And they're like, oh, it's not really like that. And my brain, the OCD again in my brain was like, no, I need to know exactly how this goes. I just wasn't as much as imaginative as I was as a kid. I didn't look at games that way, you know? So having it explained that way, I mean, first you need to know what improv is, but like collaborative storytelling is something that I think we all do when we sit around, like especially on podcasts like this. If there's something about a story that you don't necessarily love, and then you start to speculate, or you're thinking about what the next film is going to be or this or that, we all do it, whether or not we do it within the framework of a game. So I guess I should have asked you, how would you pitch it to someone else more thoroughly? But I kind of just did that to myself and to others. But anything to add before we get into like more the specifics of HYPERDICE?
No, I mean, yeah, it's really simple. I think we're kind of treating it as an intro for people who maybe haven't watched actual plays before, because we've never made one before. It's not super crunchy. It's very fast paced, which is what I like to listen to. I've listened to some actual plays where I'm like, I want to deal with the characters more than talking about the dice and doing the math. Right. So it's like I ask for a roll and we just cut to the roll and here's the number and what happens next. And we do have all of it. Like we're putting out the full play on our Patreon, but it's like, if you want all the crunchy numbers talk, it's there. But that's like, we're trying to tell like a fast-paced, chaotic Star Wars story.
Yeah. So let's talk about the kind of basics of how it works. You running it as the equivalent of the Dungeon Master, and how specifically you set it up to make it a little simpler, what the framework of the Teens in Space thing is. Kind of walk us through like how a game starts, and what if you had a couple normies that came in and you were going to explain to them how to play before you started. what would you give them?
So yeah, we did like a session 0 where everyone set up their characters, and that's kind of going through what kind of alien do you want to be, and then from that we decide, okay, well, if you're a basilisk, you're probably going to be very strong. Or Mollie was a KX droid, so it's like now we're going to build your stats around what makes sense for that, and like her brawn, her strength is all the way up. That's her strongest skill, but she's a reprogrammed droid, so we made her brains her weakest skill, which
No brains.
Dummy.
yeah. And the way Teens in Space works is there's 6 skills: fight, flight, brawn, brains, charm, and something else. And their strongest skill you roll a d20 with, their weakest skill they roll a d4 with, and then everything else is in between. But you're still grading everything on like a 20 scale. So that's a D4 is not a good thing to have.
Got it.
Grit. I think grit, charm, fight, flight, brains, brawn.
Yeah. And for the super, super normies, D4, D20, a dice with 4 or 20 sides or 6 sides or whatever else.
Yeah.
A die?
I think die is multiple, dice is singular.
So confused. English.
5 points for intelligence.
All right.
Good job.
All right. So so you set up your characters, and then like the scenario in which, the location in which all of this takes place, you as what's your title actually, as like the runner of the
GM,
campaign?
I guess, game master.
Yeah.
You establish all of that, the parameters for like the starting point, the location, etc.
Yeah. So in our session 0, we talked about, what do you guys want to be? Do you know each other? How well do you know each other? Do you want to be mercenaries? Like, what kind of campaign did the players want to play?
Mm-hmm.
And so we got that. And then, yeah, I built the scenario for the first episode. I kind of had an idea for the first full season. And then we went through the first episode. And I think the second episode and third were all stuff that I figured would happen next. But by that point, they had made up so much dumb stuff that I was like, no, we're going off the rails. And like, I wanted the stuff that they made that was important, that had to carry on in the story, instead of doing what I thought would be important before we even started. I'm like, just throw all that in the trash, and it's got to be about the story that they're creating.
Yeah, you can do as much or as little preparation as far as story goes as the game master. And I think Alex did a lot up front and had a basic idea of where he wanted it to go. And then we took it in like wacky directions, and he kind of just rolled with it. And I think as the show goes on, like less and less prep went in it for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The first episode, I had like 8 pages of notes. And then by the midpoint, I had 1 page. And I was like, it doesn't matter what I put down. They're going to ruin it. So I shouldn't waste time.
And that's the difference between intelligence and wisdom.
Yeah. What's really interesting to me about this idea of having a story you want to tell and then the characters taking over is the way real quality storytelling works to begin with. You know, if you craft fully fleshed out, fully realized characters, and you pick the right characters to put in conflict with one another, the story starts to tell itself, even at very low levels, even in just like notes. You know, I've got like notes upon notes in my app of story ideas that started as one thing. I had kind of a plot in mind, and then I started to develop these characters, and I'm like, no, it just wouldn't happen that way. That story is now boring to me, because the little bit that I've developed these characters, now I want something else. And then they start to take on a life of their own. So I imagine with a group of other human beings who are trying to embody those characters in this game, you might get to a point in, another season or two where you know the characters well enough that you think, ooh, what if I threw them in this kind of scenario? And even though that's less preparation, you might just have 1 page, the story potential you have because you know the characters is much larger.
Yeah. Once I've been saying to our friends, I'm like, I feel like we really hit our stride in episode 4, because all of the characters are just well developed. They have made up enough random stuff that we can build off of that. Like we actually had a sticker made of, in the first episode, Mollie made up this, we called it a Tamborgotchi, but it's like a space Tamagotchi.
Yes.
But
it's Wat Tambor, and it's like separatist themed.
Incredible.
So Mollie just like made up this device for a random reason, and that became like central to the story. And knowing the things that became important to them, I was more interested in being like, okay, how do I craft something that will like challenge one of the players every episode, that we can focus on them and do something that is centered around their character and what they love, and make them make difficult choices.
There's an episode where we basically go to an auction. Is it on the Ring of Kafrene, or is it on something else?
It's on the wheel. Yeah, Star Wars space station.
The wheel. We go to an auction, and come to find out, a lot of the stuff being auctioned is appealing to each character in a very specific way. So, like, for my character, I'm a KX droid, and I learned everything I know from watching holovids and like basically Star Wars reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things on the auction was like a bunch of rare, like never before seen holovids of old reality shows. And I was like willing to spend all of our money to try and get it. And that just kept happening with each character in their...
Like they have one thing they're there to win, but are they going to spend all their money before they get there?
Right.
Yeah.
So as a game master, going step by step, scenario to scenario, scene to scene, essentially, storytelling without conflict is no story at all, right? So you're trying to throw things at the characters, scenarios, events, other, non-player characters, I guess, is if there's an equivalent of that, right, in this?
That's exactly, yeah.
Throw things at them that introduce conflict, right? How do you go from, something like junk traders and rebels and things and all the stuff that you would expect to a chili cook-off in a story?
I'll say the chili cook-off was in our D&D campaign.
Okay, got it.
Not in Star Wars.
Got it, okay.
That's just what I use to explain D&D to people, where I'm it's
okay.
not always like literally Dungeons and Dragons, but
yeah.
It's what Vader used to explain Jeddah. There was an unfortunate chili accident.
Yeah.
Sure.
So in this, I like that you bring up non-player characters. One of the best things I think we did is we had our patrons just submit Glupshido names. Like,
That's
just
awesome.
send us your Star Warsy names. And anytime we needed a non-player character, we would draw an alien out of a hat, draw a name out of the hat, and then we would make up the character on the fly. And those were so much fun. And also a great source of conflict.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The main source of conflict is kind of like crime syndicates. It's set around the same time as Andor. We're dealing with the Hutts as far as the crime syndicate goes. So that's kind of our main area of conflict, which is a time period that a lot of people are very familiar with. Like it's not hard to understand, like if we run into other crime syndicates and how they interact with the Hutt cartel and all that stuff.
Basically, at the end of the first episode, the team finds themselves enslaved by a Hutt, and now they have to go on missions for him. And so the arc is, how do we free ourselves? How do we liberate ourselves? And that's what they're trying to do.
And Alex gets to play Gracchus the Hutt, who is so funny, super broy, actually.
Yeah, like this. We filmed this way before The Mandalorian and Grogu, and so I love Gracchus. He's this like jacked giant Hutt, and so I played him as just this ultimate bro who doesn't really understand what he's doing. I don't think, like, he thinks he's gaining friends by putting chips in their bodies that will explode. Like, he's forcing them to be his friends. So he's kind of endearing on accident. I didn't really mean to play him that way, but they all just kind of got along and vibed together.
There's an episode where he does a bunch of spice, and I made a joke about, like, oh, he's going to tell us about his screenplay now. And then we wrote a screenplay that Gracchus the Hutt had written while high on spice.
Yes. So, okay, just again to explain to people like what the gameplay mechanics would be in a situation like that. So he's on Spice. Do you roll a dice to determine how high he is, and then like because he's that high, that leads to him being like, dude, so I got this idea for I got this screenplay I'm working on. Like, how do you gamify that?
I didn't do that. Yeah.
Alex, because Alex is playing Gracchus, he's kind of just making that fully improv. But there's another character who also does some spice within one of the episodes in the game. And for him, yeah, I think he would roll to see how like cognitively functional he is.
It depends on, like, the players are the ones that do most of the rolling, but we have a pod racing episode. And for that one, I did roll for all of the other racers. So like one of our characters is racing and trying to win. And then behind the screen, I'm also rolling dice to see how well the other racers are piloting. So
okay,
it's kind of like up to my discretion, but yeah, it is fun to kind of make games within the game of figuring out how the pod racing will work. And
yeah, so this makes me think of Star Wars Unlimited and the kind of Magic the Gathering style, where you have a card that will give you this amount of damage on so and so, but then when you play that, you take damage yourself on something else. Well, I mean that's how all cards work, but like it might affect a certain character a certain way. It might reduce this power on this character or whatever. So on the fly, let's say you roll a dice to see how high this character is on Spice, and then the outcome of that would then, I guess, reduce one of the powers, the intelligence or whatever for that moment. Like, and then you have to keep records of like the status of your characters, and that affects the next thing, right?
He would roll for whatever he's doing, but maybe his brain's roll would be -1 or -2.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. I love that so much. That's so nerdy and like spreadsheet porn, like storytelling type shit that like,
yeah,
I'm on board.
That's my pod racing episode. Had this big grid that I was filling out in real time, trying to figure out, all right, who's in first?
Well, according to cell G12, that's actually, that's great.
Yeah.
So this makes me want to ask, one, when can we play with you guys? And two, how can anyone who's listening or watching play their own campaign? Can they use the framework of what you guys have built with the Teens in Space stuff? Are you making this available in a way that's accessible for other people to play HYPERDICE as well?
I mean, yeah, all you need to do is get the Kids on Bikes or Teens in Space book, which is like that thick. It's online. That's what I did. And I just read through the rules and then just made it up. So like, I guess I could put out like, here are my scenarios if you wanted to use those scenarios. But like, I think the better way to do it is to have a session 0 with your friends, figure out what appeals to them, and then just make it your own.
Yeah.
But yeah, if someone wanted to do it and like get into it for the first time, I think Teens in Space is a great first timers system and really easy to get into.
Sweet. Because I mean, even for people like us, it does seem a little daunting still. I guess any words of encouragement or thoughts for people who are like, I don't know if I want to start from scratch. Can I just copy you guys to start? Or like, how do I get into this? What do you guys think?
You can absolutely copy us if you want to. And, we would encourage that. I think that would be a lot of fun. But like you said, like get the book or just do some Googling online and get a sense of the basics of the gameplay. But the rest is really up to you or up to the game master, I guess. And that I feel like we're kind of spoiled because of that, because now if we go and play with a different rule set, I'm going to be trying to do all this stuff that I was able to do with Teens in Space rules. And now with different rules, I may not be able to do that. So learning with this rule set is more just about having fun and like seeing what you can get away with and like the collaborative storytelling of it all.
Yeah.
I would be very interested if people copied us, like copied our exact story, because it would very quickly change. Like you get 3 different people to go into the same room that they do in episode 1, and something different is going to happen, and it'll immediately change the story and how the rest of it goes out. So I would be very interested.
I mean, I guess the other option is if it is really daunting, is to pick existing characters. Pick your favorite character.
Sure.
And you throw that group of characters into a new scenario.
There's actually a podcast called Film Reroll that I know they've done Indiana Jones. They've probably done Star Wars, but they just start the story of Raiders of the Lost Ark. But anytime Indy has to dodge a trap or do something, they roll for it. And again, very quickly, the story starts to change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Gotta see.
Because in the stories that we know, Han Solo, Indiana Jones, they're rolling 20s constantly. And that cannot be the case in a real game.
I feel like Han Solo is constantly either rolling 20s or 1s.
Yeah.
Nothing in between.
Yeah.
It's either completely working out or, buddy, you are frozen in a big block of carbonite. You know what I mean? It's true.
All right. Well, I would love to get your thoughts on the Star Wars D&D official partnership. So before we get to that bonus segment, tell the folks where they can watch HYPERDICE, what is yet to come. Give them all the details.
Yeah, we just started a brand new channel that launched on Wednesday. It's called HYPERDICE. There's 1 episode out right now. There's 7 more to come in this season. On Sunday, we're filming a one-shot that is completely different and unrelated and using a different system that is going to be for Halloween. So we're doing that. I know what the second season is going to be.
Instead of dice rolls for that one shot, instead of dice at all, we're making players pull from a Jenga tower.
Nice.
That's great.
That's a system called Dread. And it's supposed to be horror themed because you're like building tension. The tower is swaying and like every brick pull becomes a little more intense, a little scarier.
And then what happens when it all falls? That's just the end of the game? Or
whoever knocks it over is out of the game. They're dead.
So each block has a number on it, right? Or okay.
So at this time, instead of saying like, you need to roll a 10 to do that, I'll just be like, that's pretty easy for you to do. Just move 1 block. If they're trying to do something kind of ridiculous, I'll be like, maybe move 3. And so they're trying to decide how much they want to do and
how much they want to risk.
I'm going to basically run them through a horror show in Star Wars and see who makes it out.
That's great. Well, I'm stoked. I'm going to get in and dig in and really watch this probably tonight. And Mike, anything else before we get into the bonus segment?
I think all in all, the excitement for Star Wars right now with D23 coming up, I'm very quickly, do you think for both of you, do you think we're going to get anything Starfighter released? Anything? I know that we're going to see Ahsoka Season 2 props at the Pavilion. Do you think we're going to get anything for Starfighter?
I'm leaning towards no, just to not get my hopes up. I think maybe they'll save it for December with Doomsday and everything, but I'll be thrilled if I'm wrong.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Molly, what do you think? Are we getting Starfighter? Are we getting any special sneak peek of Ahsoka Season 2? What do you think we're going to get this weekend?
I mean, over Starfighter, I feel like Ahsoka Season 2 would be the more logical thing to see anything from.
Sure.
I would love to see Thrawn on Dathomir, maybe. But any little tidbit from Ahsoka Season 2, the little furball, the baby Loth cats maybe that we saw at Celebration.
Sure.
They could show those.
Yeah.
If they want to sell merch, they will show those.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yep. Yeah.
But Starfighter, I don't know. Like I was not thinking we were going to see anything from Starfighter, so we'll see.
Okay. I think what's interesting at this point is, D23 is kind of like the last big con until New York Comic Con. I know you guys have Dragon Con, but that's generally not as much of a news outlet for a lot of these companies. But, October is New York Comic Con. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think if you are looking for to scratch that Star Wars itch between Galactic Racer coming out next month, we have Zero Company coming out at the end of this month. There is plenty of new Star Wars stories to get excited about. And of course, head over and check out HYPERDICE on your new channel, which congratulations. It's a ton of work, but it seems to be a very exciting time for people who are looking to get more of you too. And it looks to be super entertaining. So we will check it out. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I forgot to answer Adam's earlier question. We can set up a one-shot at some point, play a digital game.
Now we're talking.
Just run all of you through hell. I don't know. Figure out something to do.
Start thinking about your characters now.
Oh, yeah. I'm always
Here we go. It's a whole nother episode.
And then we can LARP them at an event later down the road.
That's the added layer that we haven't even discussed. Sick.
Yeah.
All right. More to come. Everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Alex and Mollie, thank you for being here. We'll get into the bonus segment in a second. Patrons, that's for you. Everyone else, patreon.com/thankthemakerpod. Until then, may the force be with you. Thank the Maker is produced by Adam Russell and Jason Chiodo and edited by Jason Chiodo. If you enjoy the podcast, you can support us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can support us directly at patreon.com/thankthemakerpod, where you can get access to our Discord server, exclusive content, exclusive merch, and more. Our patrons literally make Thank the Maker possible.